The first time I saw him, I was 17. It was the beginning of a new school year. The classroom was warm. The windows were open, and soft wind came through the curtains. I remember the smell of chalk, old books, and spring flowers outside. I was sitting in the second row. My hands were cold, even though it wasn't winter. Then he walked in. He was tall, with soft brown hair and light skin. He wore a blue shirt and simple black pants. He looked nervous but smiled kindly at all of us. His eyes were kind. Not cold like other teachers. Not strict like my father. His voice was soft but strong. He said, "Good morning, everyone. My name is Mr. Thomas. I'm from England. I will be your new English teacher." Something inside me moved. I didn't know what it was. He was different. Not just because he was foreign, but because he looked at us like we were people. Not just students. When he spoke, he used simple English, and I could understand most of it. He joked about the weather. Some students laughed. I smiled quietly. I didn't know that this man, this teacher, would become a deep part of my life. I didn't know he would break my heart in a way I would carry for years. My name is Aya. I'm 33 now. I live in Tokyo. I have a small apartment, a quiet job, and a gentle husband. My life is okay. Calm. But even now, when I remember that year, I feel like I'm 17 again. A girl with too many dreams, and not enough words. I grew up in a small city. Not big like Tokyo. My neighborhood was quiet. The houses were close. People didn't talk about their feelings. My family was very traditional. My father was a serious man. He didn't like noise or change. My mother was quiet. She cooked, cleaned, and never argued. I never saw them hold hands. I was a good daughter. I followed rules. I studied every night. I didn't go out. I didn't ask for much. I thought being quiet was the right way to live. But I was lonely. That year, my final year of high school, Mr. Thomas came. He was only 24. Young for a teacher. Especially at our school, where most teachers were older men with tired eyes. Mr. Thomas had energy. He brought new books. He told us English was more than grammar, it was stories, feelings, and voices. His voice was different. Calm. Clear. When he read poems or short stories, it sounded like music. I started to like English more. Not just the subject, but the way it made me feel. He saw me. I don't mean in a romantic way. Not yet. But he noticed me. He remembered my name. When I answered a question, he listened. When I looked confused, he explained slowly, kindly. For the first time, I felt like I was more than just a quiet girl in a uniform. One day, he gave us a poem. It was by Sylvia Plath. It was dark. Sad. I didn't understand it. But something about the words stayed in my mind. After class, I waited. My hands were shaking a little. "Mr. Thomas," I said quietly, "can I ask you about the poem?" He looked up from his papers and smiled. "Of course, Sit down." We talked about the meaning. I told him it felt heavy, and a little scary. He nodded. "It is. Sylvia Plath had a hard life." I said, "But I don't understand all the lines." He looked at me for a moment, then said something I'll never forget. "It's okay not to understand everything at once. Sometimes meaning comes later, after life teaches us more." I didn't know what he meant back then. But the sentence stayed in my heart. After that, I started staying after class more often. At first, we talked about books, grammar, homework. Then slowly, other things. He told me about his hometown in England. How he missed rainy days and his little sister. How Japanese food was delicious, but he sometimes missed mashed potatoes. How he felt like a stranger here, lost between languages, between cultures. I listened. And then I spoke. I told him about my home. How my father never said "I love you." How my mother was always tired. How I felt invisible at the dinner table. Like a shadow in my own house. I told him I wanted to go far away, but I didn't know where. He didn't laugh. He didn't tell me to be quiet. He just said, "You're not invisible to me." That sentence made something bloom inside me. Like a flower that had waited years to feel the sun. Days passed. Weeks. Our talks grew longer. I started looking forward to his class. Not just because of the lessons, but because of him. He never touched me. Never said anything wrong. But something had changed. I started writing in my notebook about him. Just small things. His shirt was green today. He smiled when I answered correctly. He looked tired. I wanted to ask why. I knew I was falling. I didn't want to, but I was. And then, one day, everything changed. It was late spring. The cherry blossoms were gone. The air was warm. Exams were coming. The school felt heavy and quiet. Most students went home early. But I stayed behind. Like always. That day, something was different. Mr. Thomas was sitting at his desk. His face looked tired. His eyes were serious. He didn't smile like usual. I sat across from him. My notebook was open, but I wasn't reading. He looked at me, long and quiet. Then he said, slowly, I need to tell you something. And I know this may be wrong. Maybe it is. But I have to be honest. I felt my heart beat faster. My hands were cold again. He paused, took a deep breath. Then he said, I think I'm falling in love with you. Time stopped. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I looked at him. He looked afraid. I should have said no. I should have left. But I didn't. I whispered, me too. That moment changed everything. We didn't kiss. We didn't hold hands. But something between us opened. A secret door. I walked home slowly that day. The sky was soft and pink. Birds were singing. But inside me, it was a storm. I knew this was dangerous. I knew it wasn't right. But I also knew. I felt seen. Wanted. Loved. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just someone's daughter. I wasn't just a quiet student. I was me. And someone had chosen me. I know what you might be thinking. Yes. I was only 17. And yes, he was my teacher. Some people hear this and say, that's wrong. That's not love. That's dangerous. Others say, it sounds like a movie. Maybe it was romantic. But for me, in that moment, it felt real. It felt like something gentle, something warm, something I had never felt before. No, we didn't touch. We didn't hold hands. We didn't kiss. We were careful. Quiet. Like two people walking on thin ice, afraid of falling. He gave me notes. Small ones. He would hide them inside books or under my homework papers. Sometimes, it was just one sentence. You looked sad today. Are you okay? Or, your answer in class made me smile. I kept them all. I read them before bed. At school, I smiled at him when no one was looking. He smiled back. Just a small smile. Soft. Secret. It was our little world. But secret things don't stay secret forever. One evening, I came home later than usual. I was at the library, or at least that's what I told my parents. When I walked into the house, I saw my father sitting on the floor near the table. He was holding something in his hand. A piece of paper. My heart dropped. I looked closer. It was one of the notes. I had forgotten to hide it. The words were clear. You are the only reason I look forward to coming here every morning. My father didn't speak. Not even one word. He stood up. His face was red. His eyes full of something I had never seen before, fury. Then, he slapped me. Hard. My head turned. My ears rang. I tasted blood in my mouth. I stood still. Frozen. Like a doll. He didn't yell. He didn't explain. He just walked away. That night, I sat in my room in the dark. I didn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling. I felt like I had lost something, but I didn't even know what. The next day, everything changed. I didn't go to school. My mother told me, "You will not return." I asked, "Why?" She looked away. "Your father said so." Later that week, I heard from a friend that Thomas had left. Just like that. No goodbye. No note. No voice. He was gone. It felt like the end of a dream. Or maybe the end of a small, secret life I had kept in my heart. I sat in my bed for days. Silent. Empty. I never got to say goodbye. And that hurt the most. I didn't hear from him for 3 years. 3 long years. In those years, I tried my best to forget. I left my small hometown. I moved to Tokyo for university. The city was big. Loud. Full of light and people. So different from the quiet life I had known before. I joined classes, walked through crowded streets, ate lunch with classmates, and smiled when I had to. I made friends. I laughed at silly things. I took pictures of flowers in the park and drank coffee at small cafes. To others, I looked happy. Normal. Like any young woman starting her adult life. But inside, I was still carrying him. Every night before I closed my eyes, I thought of him. His voice, soft and low, the way he read poems. His handwriting, neat, gentle, like a whisper on paper. His eyes, how they looked at me, like I was not invisible. Like I mattered. I told myself, it's over. He's gone. He won't come back. But my heart didn't listen. Then one afternoon, everything changed. It was a rainy Tuesday. I remember it clearly. I came home from class, tired, with wet shoes and cold fingers. I made tea and opened my laptop. There it was. An email. Subject: Are you okay? From Thomas H. I froze. My hand on the mouse. My tea getting cold. I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart started beating faster. It felt like a drum in my chest. I couldn't breathe properly. After almost an hour, I opened it. It was short. Simple. But every word felt heavy. I've thought about writing you for a long time. I hope you're safe. I hope your father didn't hurt you again. I'm back in Tokyo. If you want to meet, just to talk, I'll be here. I read it again. And again. And again. I didn't know what to feel. Fear. Hope. Anger. Love. All the feelings came back at once, like a wave. I couldn't sleep that night. 3 days later, I agreed to meet him. We chose a small cafe near Shibuya. It was quiet, with warm lights and wooden chairs. When I walked in, I saw him at the corner table. He stood up when he saw me. He looked different. Older. His hair was a little thinner. His eyes were tired. But it was still him. He smiled. A sad, soft smile. Then he said the first words. I never stopped thinking about you. And just like that, we were back. This time, it wasn't a secret anymore. I was 20 years old now. No longer a high school girl. No longer his student. I was a university student in Tokyo, trying to live a normal life. He had a new job, teaching English at a small language school. We were both adults now. We could walk outside together. We could sit in cafes without looking around. We could hold hands. It felt new. And it felt free. I started visiting his small apartment after my classes. It was quiet, warm, and always smelled like coffee and old books. The space was simple, just a bed, a desk, a small kitchen, but I loved it. It felt like home. He cooked for me. Pasta, eggs on toast, sometimes just soup. After dinner, I washed the dishes. He dried them with a soft white towel. We didn't talk much while doing chores. But the silence felt soft. Like we didn't need words. At night, he read to me. Mostly poetry, Pablo Neruda, Sylvia Plath, sometimes Japanese haiku. His voice was deep and calm. I would lie next to him, my head on his chest, listening. Feeling safe. We even took a short trip to Kyoto in the spring. We saw cherry blossoms by the river. Held hands under the pink sky. We laughed while eating matcha ice cream. Everything felt soft, simple, peaceful. I truly believed we were building a life together. Something real. Something strong. But I was wrong. One night, he came home late. I was already there, waiting. I had made tea. His favorite, Earl Grey. He walked in slowly. His face looked strange. His eyes were red, like he had been crying. He didn't say hello. He didn't smile. He sat down beside me, took my hands in his, and whispered, I need to tell you something. And I know this will hurt you. My heart started beating faster. I felt a heavy feeling in my chest. I was scared. He looked into my eyes. Then he said, slowly, I was married. I couldn't breathe. He continued, back in England. Before I met you. We separated before I came to Japan. But she never signed the divorce papers. I sat still. I couldn't move. He looked down. His voice was shaking. She's here now. In Japan. She came last week. She says she wants to fix things. She doesn't know about you. I didn't know what to do. Everything inside me turned cold. Like someone had poured ice into my heart. I pulled my hands away from his. My voice was small, but I asked. So, what do you want? He looked at me. His eyes were full of tears. And he said the words I will never forget. I don't know. That night, I walked out of his apartment. I didn't shout. I didn't cry in front of him. I just picked up my bag, opened the door, and left. I didn't say goodbye. The air outside was cold. The street was quiet. My feet moved on their own. I didn't know where I was going. The lights from the shops looked blurry. I realized I was crying, but I didn't wipe my tears. I called a friend from university and asked, "Can I stay with you?" She said yes. I moved in that night. For the next few weeks, I cried every day. Not loud crying. Just soft, quiet tears that came without warning. On the train. In the shower. While waiting for the rice to cook. I didn't eat much. Food had no taste. Even sweet things felt bitter. I didn't sleep well either. I would lie in bed, eyes open, heart heavy. I kept hearing his voice in my head. I don't know. That sentence hurt more than anything else. Because it meant he didn't choose me. Every love story I saw, on TV, in books, even on the street, made me feel sick. Couples holding hands. Girls smiling at their boyfriends. It all felt like a lie. Because I wasn't just hurt. I was the secret. I was the girl he said he loved. But not enough to fight for. Not enough to stay for. Not enough to choose. Time passed. First months. Then years. I finished university. I found a job. I smiled more. I went to work, came home, made dinner. Slowly, I rebuilt my life. But some days, I still remembered. Like when I walked past a bookstore. Or when I heard someone reading poetry in English. Even the sound of British English on the train made my heart pause for a second. I never saw him again. I don't know what happened with his wife. He never contacted me. And maybe, that was his way of ending it. Quiet. Like how we began. Now, with time and distance, I can see more clearly what we had. It was real to me. Every moment. Every word. But maybe it wasn't love. Maybe it was just loneliness, for both of us. Maybe he needed to feel important. And I needed to feel seen. Sometimes I still ask myself, was I a mistake? Or was I his first love? Maybe I was both. And maybe that's why it still hurts. I met someone new when I was 28. His name is Daichi. The first time we met, it was nothing like the movies. No fireworks. No music. Just a quiet conversation at a friend's dinner party. He was soft-spoken. Calm. He smiled with his eyes more than his mouth. At first, I didn't think much. I had already learned that some love stories come with pain. So I kept my heart safe. I stayed careful. But Daichi, he never rushed me. Never pushed me. He asked simple questions. He listened. Really listened. He remembered small things I said, what tea I liked, the name of my cat when I was a child, how I always used 2 spoons of sugar. He didn't talk too much. But when he spoke, his words were warm. I told him about Thomas. Not every detail. Not the pain behind each memory. But enough. One evening, I said, "There's a part of me that still hurts." And he looked at me gently and said, "You don't need to erase your past to have a future with me." That sentence. It wrapped around my heart like a soft blanket. It meant everything. We got married last spring. No big wedding. No music, no guests in suits or loud laughter. Just us. I wore a simple white dress. I held a small bouquet of wildflowers I picked myself. We stood in a quiet garden, under a sky that was half sunny, half cloudy. Birds were singing softly in the trees. As I stood beside Daichi, I didn't feel nervous. No butterflies in my stomach. No rush of fire in my chest. Just peace. A soft calm that touched every part of me. And maybe, that's what real love is. Not loud, not burning, but steady, safe, kind. But I'll always remember Thomas. Not because I still love him, but because he changed me. I remember the way he looked at me when no one else did. The way he made me feel like I was special. The way he opened my heart. And the way he broke it. He once told me, "Sometimes, meaning comes later." Back then, I didn't understand. Now, I finally do. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.